What do you do when your spouse or your business partner looks at what you're spending on marketing and then asks this fair question? Does it actually work? And you try to reach for a number to prove it, but then you end up losing the argument. It's not because the marketing is not working, but because the number that you're holding is kind of fuzzy, and a fuzzy number doesn't make people very confident, especially if they're skeptical. So here's how you actually prove your marketing is working without some number that you can't actually defend. So here's what happens when you try to prove marketing with a dollar figure. You're going to say, hey, look, marketing, it got us $40,000 this year. And then the person that's skeptical, let's say your partner, your spouse, or whoever watches the money, asks one question you can't fully answer. How do you know that? And to be honest, you probably can't know, not to the dollar anyways. So that customer saw your truck, then a Google ad, then your neighbor mentioned you, then they searched your name and called. And you can't cleanly credit $40,000 to marketing. So the moment that you are pushed, your number falls apart in your hands, and now you don't just look wrong, you look like you were just guessing. You look bad. The precise number might be the weakest possible ground to stand on. Anyone who hands you a dashboard that claims to prove it exactly is setting you up to get torn apart the very first time someone checks it. Stop trying to prove some number. You don't need a court-proof level dollar figure to know that your marketing's working, and your partner doesn't either. You do, though, need to show two things. If the needle is moving, and if you can more or less point at why. That's all you have to show. You have to show a trend, and then you have to show the mechanism. And that a skeptic can't actually knock that down because you're not claiming some false precision. You're showing them something real and then letting them decide for themselves. That's more honest than a fake number. And here's the part people miss. It's really more persuasive as well. So here are the things that you actually want to put on the table, though. 3 things. You don't need software and analysts for these 3 things. Number 1 is a 6-month trend line. Not this week, not this month. You're going to pull back to 6 months and show leads and revenue over that window. And if it's up and to the right since you started spending on marketing, there's your case. You're not claiming the marketing did all of that, but you are showing the direction that changed after you started doing the marketing, and then you let that skeptic draw the obvious conclusion. Number 2, the how did you find us log. Every customer should have one question that has been written down about that customer. Over a few months, that log will become the most persuasive thing you own, not because it's your opinion. It's the customer in their own words telling you and your partner where they actually came from. When I found you online goes from 2 people to 15, nobody's going to be able to argue with that. That's a directional attribution that anyone who's a skeptic can actually get on board with. And number 3, the cost per customer as you grow. This is actually probably what your partner cares about. If you're spending more, but each new customer costs the same or less, the machine is probably getting more efficient. And that's the opposite of wasting money. If your cost per customer is climbing, they're right to worry, and you should be too. Either way, that ratio is an honest scoreboard that you can use. So when your partner asks, is this working? Here's what you say. Don't say, trust me, it's a 240% return. You say, here's what leads did over the last 6 months. Here's what changed when we started. Here's where customers say they're coming from. And then no, I can't prove it to the exact dollar, and someone who tells you that is probably not being honest, but the direction is clear, and here's the mechanism by which it occurred. Here's the data we do have. And that pitch is going to win because this is the pitch that respects the person across from you and considers them smart enough to know that some made-up number is made up. But you're going to win in that conversation by not trying to fake it. Now, if you want to actually show where your money is working and where it's leaking in a way that you can put right in front of your partner, we have a special treat for you. We have a revenue leak calculator. So if you go to that revenue leak calculator, it'll walk you through where the revenue comes in and then where it slips out across your whole sales funnel. It only takes 3 minutes. It's free, and you don't really have to sign up for anything. Go to hiveleadmarketing.com and click on the revenue leak calculator.